COVID-19 is leaving huge impact on our lives. It's not just the emptiness of streets, fear, disappointment, loneliness. What about the sport? Stadiums are empty, children cannot go outside and play, and cannot train normally. Coaches and school teachers try to encourage youths through videos, but does this really work? If we go deeper, what about the small sport clubs? How can they survive? How will COVID-19 impact smaller clubs? Will this overwhelm bigger clubs? First, we have to define what small clubs or grassroots clubs are. Grassroots clubs are defined as the community, clubs, and schools that have implemented grassroots programs. Programs are formed as a foundation from which players of the future emerge and present important aspects of engaging and retaining sportsmen in the sport as players, coaches, volunteers. And now we have to look at how those clubs are financed. Important funding of those clubs is based on private source financing, voluntary contributions, or it is primarily financed through public funds. Those could either be targeted or dedicated resources, the result of allocation choices between different expenditure categories, or in-kind contributions and financial contributions. Beside public funding, a lot of small clubs or grassroots clubs depend on private funding. For this kind of funding, the clubs depend on their own strategies, and the size of the clubs is also one of the key factors. The private funds consist of sponsorships and their advertising, goods as equipment or sportswear, and other goods as media rights. For most of the smaller, local clubs, we can cut funds that are based on media rights, but we can sum up their own funding, such as the player's transfer fee, in the long term via transfer contributions, or services such as membership fee or participation, facility hire if the club has its own facilities available, merchandise sales, and bar sales. We can see that small clubs depend on those kinds of funding, which means that if these funds fell short, it could have a huge impact on their operation. So if the ministry decides to invest in other aspects, the National Olympic Committee and national associations get less income to share among the clubs inside their associations via public funding. But the private funding is more crucial because of the full of the sponsorship income, especially those local sponsors. If we try to predict the outcome, first we have to have in mind that the public sector has many challenges ahead, which could be divided into the short or long term, and they will focus more on hospital infrastructures and unemployment benefits. And here is the crucial moment that we have to have in mind: the consequences. Consequences of COVID-19 are going to impact smaller clubs for sure. But how? First, we can expect the reduction of tournament or league competitions for youths. Secondly, the reduction of training staff or their payments would be applied, especially in the youth selections, leading to the lowering or merging selections in the youth development. Even for the grassroots clubs, which are a part of a big club, this kind of reduction could be expected. The lack of the training will surely impact youth development clubs, not just through the reduction of income of membership fees, but also every individual will depend on his own, which could lead to the change of the sportsman's form and future development, especially in the selection groups of age over 14. But before we can answer the question about the overwhelming the big clubs, we have to ask ourselves, what will happen to youth in small clubs? The small clubs will have a lack of trainers, and even if they reopen, there will be not enough income or finance investments from the private and public sectors. The result of those will be visible in lowering the selections of youths. For categories from under 8 to under 12, it is not so crucial to have a negative effect even after 1 year. But for selections of the under 15 and above, because they are about to transfer to the professional sport, the loss of 1 year could be crucial or irreplaceable. So in theory, we can assure that because of the crisis, some of the sportsmen will not manage to achieve their potential. How will closures of smaller clubs and organizations affect bigger clubs after the crisis? One of the challenges is surely the rise of players in each selection, In theory, we can assure that all the ambitious young players will try to find another clubs when their clubs decide to stop its operation. The big challenge will be especially in the youth selections under 12, where the assessment of a sportsman's talent is difficult and each club supports the statement that every child should have an opportunity to be involved in sport. The problematic issue appears with the lack of other income in bigger clubs, such as gate money, player transfers, merchandise sale, also the loss of many smaller sponsors. In that case, the investment to the more training staff could be almost impossible. Also, the second challenge that bigger clubs are facing now is finding new ways to gather sponsors and the audience. This means that it could lead to the club's double overwhelming condition. One, from the not enough trainer staff, and second, not enough budget to finance this increase. And if we circle back to our question, how big clubs should face the challenge of the rise of youth selection, one of the solutions that could change the sport world is transforming the contract of trainer staff from part-time to full-time employment, having more groups of youths in a selection group which could lead them with their 8 hours per day work, or that clubs prepare for this and not invest too much into buying new expensive players but to focus more on their youth selections. In the end, we can assume that there will be more collaboration between the public sector and private sector, from the private sector to sport and from sport back to public sector. Also, we should be aware that the longer the crisis will last, the more investments will be made to the other industries, to make the growth of the market and not so much to the sports industry. But the sport industry is also part of the growing market, right?
I'm going mainstream. Mainstream. Flow like water, so I'm going mainstream.